So you can already oh, I was wondering if you said that maybe it was my best friend. Oh, I don't have time.
All right, if I get everybody to come to their seats, we'll get started with the evening. To the seats. While you guys are getting to your seats and getting organized, if I could get Bernadette Smith to come to the stage. Bernadette's the ethnic vice chair, current MIGOP ethnic vice chair, and anyway, Republican minute happening. Yes, ma'am. And she's gonna be doing the invocation for us, so if everybody can stand for the invocation.
It's a pleasure to be here. So we were there last night in Isabel County, and I said to them, I'm going to say this prayer at every forum because I think it's very vital. And I really like what all of them had to say yesterday. And we want to keep the spirit of unity in our state, amongst all of us, in our party. So I'm going to ask all of us to bow our head. We just offer this prayer before the Father. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to gather here today. We pray for all the candidates that are running for the MIGOP chair and all the vice chairs. We pray for all the precinct delegates. We pray for all of the grassroots and everyone that's in our party and out of them. We pray for the productive. We pray that we all have a productive, smooth meeting tonight. This forum will go very well. We break the power of all division, disunity, confusion, envy, strife in our party. And we pray for the spirit of peace and unity upon each and every one of us. You said in your word that where there is envy and strife and confusion, there is every evil work. We do not want any evil work dwelling among any of us. Help us to realize how vital it is that we focus on what unites us and rise above what's trying to divide us. We pray that we will find the good and commonness in each and every one of us and celebrate and promote that. We do understand that we must rally around the truth. We must have the truth of your word in our heart, the truth of our Constitution, and stand on that. Help us to focus on the truth and put our energy and all of our time toward that. We are at war, and I want to say it again to all of us again. We are literally at war, whether we recognize it or not. So help us to stand together against all of the evil that's lurking around each and every one of us. Help us to talk our differences with a spirit of humility, not a spirit of pride or arrogance. We pray your precious blood over each and every one of us, the healing, that your healing power will touch each and every one of us and all of our family members. This we pray in your precious name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Bernadette. Appreciate it. Please stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated. Okay, welcome to the MIGOP Candidate for Chair Town Hall, hosted by the Precinct Delegates of Van Buren County. My name is Keith Long, a Precinct Delegate for Paw Township. The delegates of Van Buren County are privileged to be hosting this event and excited to learn more about the candidates running for this extremely important leadership position. Before we begin, I would like to introduce any elected officials that might be present for tonight. If I call your name, just please stand, wave, whatever you feel comfortable doing. We have Bernadette Smith, of course, she's the ethnic chair. Paul DeYoung, Register of Deeds in Van Buren County. Robin Keith, RWFM President. Jake Godfrey is Commissioner for Van Buren County. Mike Chappell, Hartford Commissioner, also Van Buren County. And then, of course, all of our state chair candidates that are here with us this evening. Thank you for coming. Okay, so as we start, let me go over the format for tonight's town hall. There will be two parts to tonight's town hall. For the first part, we will begin with each candidate introducing themselves. They will have 1 minute each. Next, we will ask 6 questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. For the second part, we have collected some questions from the public. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer those questions as well. To conclude tonight, we will let each candidate have 1 minute for a final statement. We will also have a meet and greet and comments afterwards when we complete tonight's town hall, so please stick around for that and get to know the candidates a little bit more. So let's begin tonight with the introductions. Candidates, I'd just like you in your introduction to maybe include why you decided to run and any previous experience that will help qualify you for this position. We'll begin here with Lena. We'll just go right on down the line. Thank you.
Good morning, good evening. My name is Lena Epstein, and I'm one of your candidates for Michigan Republican Party Chairman. I am 41, a Jewish believer from Oakland County, and I've been so blessed to have a beautiful 5-year-old daughter. I was raised in a loving family that reinforced principles of faith, family, and country, which is at the center of our beautiful platform. At 41 years old, I've had an extraordinary experience in business. Took a family business started by my dad's dad 76 years ago, and have doubled it in size in the last 20 years. And people love to work for us because we are an extended family. Tonight, we are all an extended family. We need each other now more than ever. We had record decimation at the top of the ticket, record historic losses. I ran as your statewide nominee for the University of Michigan Board of Regents. And by virtue of the money raised, our message of hope and inspiration reached independence. And when almost 2 million people voted for me that night with less than a 1-point loss, we did it because our message got through. I'm running on a simple platform to unite our party by way of proper funding. Having served as Trump's statewide co-chairman in 2016, I can tell you that the Michigan political market is the second most expensive market in the whole nation. So I humbly ask for your vote as a very proficient leader in business, in politics, and most of all, as Emma Jewel's loving mom. Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. My name is Matthew Perno. Thanks for all the delegates for coming out. I ran for Attorney General in this last election. Thank you for everyone for all the support you gave us and all the help you did throughout this election. Appreciate it greatly. You know, we woke up that Wednesday after the election. I sat down with my team and we said, what happened to us in this last election could never happen to another candidate in a statewide election. We got no support from the RNC, very limited, if any, support from the MIGOP. They weren't able to raise money and they did not commit to our candidates. That has to change. We had too much division in the party this last election. Too many people decided they didn't want to get involved and they stayed home. And I'm talking about a lot of the elite donor class, and we have to bring them back to the party. We have to get them engaged. We have to get them to believe in our conservative America First message. And we were able to do that partly throughout this campaign. My campaign raised just shy of $6 million in this last election. That doesn't include the money that we helped raise for election integrity efforts across this country. We were able to unite people. We have to continue to do that. The chair of the GOP has basically two functions. One, raise money. Two, defeat Democrats and get our candidates elected. That's what I'm going to do. I ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is JD Glosser. I was born in Portland, Oregon, lived in Michigan for 15 years. My background in software engineering, computer security in particular. I got involved in Michigan politics in 2020, like most people with the fraud. I spent some time investigating computer security fraud related to the election. That led to involvement with delegate groups in various counties, explaining reports of them, which led to involvement with delegates. And what I began to realize was that delegates didn't know how to function within our political system. So the reason I'm running for the chair position is there's three deficits that I've seen. The party had supplied no leadership for recruitment. There should be a lot more people here. They haven't supplied leadership in fundraising. The party is broke. Why is that? And they haven't applied any leadership towards education. What I mean by that specifically is delegates don't know what their job is. Delegates don't know how a convention works. Delegates don't know how to participate in a convention. And these things need to change. We have a political system that says all power is held by the people. But if you don't know how to participate in your system, you don't know how to work it. The things that we have lost are drastic. And if you look at what we know how to do, what we do is we give money and we work to get candidates elected, but that hasn't been working for us. What we have lost is the ability to hold people accountable. Tribalism and division has been mentioned, but what really is that? There's only two classes of people in America. There are citizens and there's elected officials. And the citizens can be called the elected officials, but we lost that. We have to learn how to regain that within our political system. That's why I'm running for the chair.
Hello, my name is Christina Caramo. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm running for chair of the Michigan Republican Party to save my children's future and to save your children's future. As someone who's been involved in the party for a long time, since college, I've seen so many broken areas in our party that have not been fixed and led to 3 election cycles of us facing defeat. My decision to run for Secretary of State is because of what I witnessed in 2020 regarding systemic election corruption, and it was never fixed. And that because we failed to remedy systemic election corruption, this is why we saw the situation in 2022. And as we look at a 2024 cycle with the Senate race and the presidential race, if we think ignoring systemic election corruption is going to be okay, and then us win in November of 2024, we can think again. So it's important as chair to remedy that issue. It's important for us to end the tribalism within our party that is causing a lot of the fighting that is leading to the destruction of our party. We have to ensure that we engage our youth. Only 29% of Americans identify as Republican. We cannot wait until the general election cycle to think we're going to sway the public along. Additionally, we have to diversify how we raise money. We can no longer rely on a handful of people to fund the party, because they put too much power in the hands of a small group of people, and it requires us in order to appease them in order to receive their funding. We have to have diversified funding. We have to ensure we recruit more young people. We have to ensure that we stay true to our conservatism. Capitulating on our conservatism will not benefit us. It will just bring tyranny a little bit slower than Democrats. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for making a long drive. I hail from all the way over the east side to Stoll County. It's only 3.5 hours. God bless you guys. You have a safe drive. With that being said, I'm Billy Putman. I come from a multi-generational family. We all live together. We're a household of entrepreneurs, and we have 4 or 5 primary businesses we do as a family, and we're very successful at fixing a need. And what the need that we feel is broken, most importantly, not only in Michigan, but in the United States, is the Democrats are taking our families from us. Proposal 3, they took our kids. They've taken our kids from schools, they've taken our kids from sports, and they've desensitized the whole youth system. I have 4 daughters, and I bought a son. I have a lovely puppy, but they've taken our kids from us. That's why I'm getting in this race. I'm not a politician. I come across very blunt. I love you guys. And most importantly, if we can fix the family unit and we can bring price back to the platform that the Republican Party, who our founding fathers decided for us to do, we can have a better party. Funding for the party is the easy part. We should have an infrastructure system. With all due respect, the party should cash flow. We're entrepreneurs. We are Republicans. We are good at small business, big business, large business. In the off season, our campaign should be generating cash flow over and over again. We are good at media. We are good at signage. We are good at pamphlets. We are good at
training our candidates. We need a system that makes money 24/7. It's pretty plain and simple. And from an entrepreneurial standpoint, we could do that. And as a bonus, we can take the donor money. But the donor money will come if we can give something bright and shiny. And so God willing, with the new MIGOP that we have planned, Sandy and I, through leadership, actions, and accountability, we not only will whip our legislators into shape to make them answer back to the people and not give us what they did in November 8th, but what we can also do is rebrand, revitalize the base and say, come look at us now. We are a family. We are here to stay, and get out of our way, Democrats, because we're on our A game, not our B game. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. My name is Michael Barrage. I'm from Kent County. I'm a lifelong resident of Grand Rapids. I graduated from Catholic Central High School. I have 3 goals running for MIGOP chair. Number 1 is I started in politics in the early 70s. I was involved in the Tea Party when there was no such thing as Tea Party. I was involved with the movement, the grassroots, America First, before it was even said America First. So I'm so happy to see the grassroots move in and take back control in many counties of our GOP. Number 1, the new GOP chair cannot work top down. It's got to be a bottom up approach. Goal number 1 is to get to all of these counties, to work with people within the county and identify talent, to work with Freedom Works and Freedom Teams to educate our new delegates on how we can take back our counties. We take back enough counties, we essentially make the governor the mayor of Lansing. Secondly, with that, identifying talent to run for school boards, as well as local city councils and state and for state offices. The third thing is obviously raising money. I want to caution everyone on the state craft. With it, they have one job, and that's to raise money. That's state craft. That's what the former chairs have all done, and have failed miserably at keeping our party together. These progressives want to bribe you, but I'll give you a free convention. But you're selling your soul to the people that basically told you mask up, close our schools, and these aren't Democrats, by the way, they're Republicans. As your chair, I'm going to make very sure Republicans lead as Republicans. Virtually every one of them is going to be a Kevin Whiteford Republican, a Melinda Pigo Republican, or they're going to get stripped of the R next to their name. They call themselves whatever they wish. We are done having progressive liberals in our party claim that they're Republicans. Thank you.
My name is Scott Ogby. I'm Jackson, Michigan, down I-94. And I'm a drywall contractor by trade. I'm also a musician, also an independent election investigator. I've been investigating the general election of 2020, along with the election since that point, investigating data, primarily from the back-end databases, from the contracts, operating the Dominion tabulators, the ESNS system, and Harvard Civic. And I can tell you, the Republican Party will never become dominant again in the state until this election system is eliminated. This is a corrupt system. It should not happen in this country. Christina Caramo, Matt DePerno, and Tudor Dixon never had a chance because of the system that's in place. The public has not seen everything else that is going on behind the scenes. You see only what the Bureau of Elections wants you to see on the surface. It is far more going on. We have evidence of our election data not only leaving this state, but leaving this country. And this should not happen in this country. I do want to say that Christina has been wonderful as an election integrity person. And I wanted to make sure that, and Sandy Kessel, who is the co-chair for Billy, these 2 individuals have contributed immensely to the efforts to bring all this to light and just how much corruption is going on in our election system. We will not change it until you get rid of the system. With regards to unity, an unconventional way to look at this. Jesus came to divide, father from son, mother from daughter. What do you mean by that? And with respect to leading, there is a thing called righteousness. And that's a key component to this. I don't support unity in the conventional way with these rhinos, with these establishment people, and I can be called tribal, whatever. I would rather reach out to the faith-based people in the inner cities, Kalamazoo, Detroit, Jackson, Grand Rapids, Flint. These are faith-based people. Many of these people are pro-life. Many of these people support traditional family. And many of these people do have Christian, Judeo-Christian values. And I think that's where we grow our party. These establishment people, these mega donors, these people with the money do not support the same moral compass we do. They support where money is found, and money, not all of it, I'm a capitalist pig. But there's so much dirty money out there. We've covered it in the selection process. Most of those donors follow that direction. If you follow the money trail, take a look at the contributions. Many of them support Democrats. No, thank you very much.
And all that stuff. And you can have a seat with me, it doesn't matter, we'll get that. So we're getting ready to start the Q and A portion of our section town hall tonight. Before I do it, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, we are live streaming this. It'll be available out there, we'll post it, we'll put it out on YouTube, we'll hand it to all the candidates, I'm sure they'll share it as well. So I did notice that we do have somebody recording, so if I can ask whoever that is, if they could maybe not do that, we'll get that out for everybody else via proper channels that we have as well. So appreciate that. So let's go ahead and start with our first question of the night. Again, just as a reminder, we got lovely Bob sitting down in the front with the two colors, yellow 15-second warning, red means it's time to move on to the next candidate. All right. All right, so the first question, and we'll start with Scott, and we'll just work our way back down here. Will you adhere to the Constitution and conservative values rather than the GOP establishment or other party agendas?
Real quick, if I might, before I start, I wanted to introduce Ken Billsborough. If you could raise your hand, he is my co-chair candidate from Coldwater, Michigan. With regard to the Constitution, conservative values, anybody watched the most recent state canvassing board meeting? I almost got arrested there. I was standing up for the Constitution, and I'm prepared to be arrested. I'm prepared to die. And I tell you what, again, for me, it starts with the elections. I've seen how corrupt it is. I've seen the law breaking. And I tell you what, we're not going to be able to defend the Constitution unless we find enforcement for the rule of law. Because we have laws in place, we're lacking law enforcement. That is the only way you're going to protect conservative values and the US Constitution and Michigan Constitution for that matter. We must change this election system and correct it. Then we can do it. We can do much better in protecting our constitutional principles. Without it, we're done.
I guess we should welcome everybody at home too, watching. Thank you. And thank you for the organizers putting this together. The answer to the question is yes. I know nothing but constitutional conservatism, that we are endowed by our Creator with inalienable rights, that our rights come from God. And even during the COVID, they do not have the right to take those rights away. We just left. It was a big disappointment. But yes, I only know one thing, and that is constitutional conservatism. I am continuously, everything is based on, for me, it's based on the Constitution or the state constitution or city charter where I live in Grand Rapids. I'm oftentimes fighting the city of Grand Rapids. And I believe in what Scott said about election integrity. I like Pat Colbeck all the way. If we do not unify behind Pat, if we do not gratify and follow his message, our constitutional rights that are being stripped will be completely stripped. But I follow 100%, and yes, absolutely positively the Constitution, period.
That's a great question. We haven't had that one yet. How I look at it, there's 3 constitutions for me in my life. There's the 10 Commandments, which I'll defend with full force. Then we have the federal Constitution. God inspired that through our forefathers, 1776. Those men and women fought and died for what we have here today. Then we look at Michigan's Constitution. I will do everything I can to make sure that our men and women, that our legislators can put their hand on there and be proud of Michigan's Constitution. Right now, I will not swear to Michigan's Constitution. I do not trust it. You cannot put in the Constitution, it's okay to kill kids. That's period. You cannot put murder in a Constitution. And we allowed that to happen. And until we fix that, I will not uphold Michigan's constitution, but the Fed and our God-given rights through Christ Jesus all day long. But what are we gonna do? We have to give our legislators the ability and the goals to make sure this doesn't happen again. And we have a plan for it, very strong plan. So thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely, I will protect and defend our Constitution as chair of the Michigan Republican Party. Additionally, when it comes to our party platform, it's important that we follow it. It's critical, otherwise, why are you a Republican if you don't support the party platform? Additionally, we need to hold elected officials accountable who do not honor our constitutional rights, and namely, as been mentioned, systemic election corruption, because when we vote, that's the only way that we, the people, maintain control over our government. And when it comes to breaking election law, that's the only law in our state that you are permitted to habitually break is election law. It is an absolute threat to our constitutional rights. Also, it's important that we recruit candidates who actually follow the Constitution. And when our elected officials, even if they're Republicans, break our constitutional rights or infringe on our constitutional rights, that we hold them accountable as well. If we don't have our freedoms, what do we have? So it's important that the chair of the Michigan Republican Party is committed to upholding our constitutional principles and not get bribed and swayed by other agendas or other individuals who try to pull them away in order for self to have, to fulfill self.
The answer to the question is yes. I do uphold the Constitution. The question is, what does the Constitution mean to us? Because the Constitution was given to the people, and the people are to protect it. Rights were given to us by God, and they're protected by the Constitution. But who's doing the protection? The Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia. I used to think that gave me the right to go purchase a gun, but purchasing a gun doesn't mean anything. What matters is, do the people band together in a modern manner? Regulated means you rehearse together, you practice together, you band together so that you're an actual force, and that you're a militia. Militia means we the people. And it's been changed into meaning something else. It's been changed into something demeaning. But what our founding fathers gave us was the ability for the people to defend themselves and to uphold the law themselves. We've allowed ourselves to look to a certain individual to uphold our protections, and those people aren't doing it. So now what do? The people have a decision to make. We have fallen a long, long way. And the people are going to have to make that choice. There's no one person that's going to solve this. The people are going to have to decide what to do, and the people want to uphold the Constitution that's given to them.
Yeah, thank you. The answer is yes. I started my legal career almost 30 years ago. And since that point, I've been representing people defending their constitutional rights. Almost 3 years ago, when Whitmer shut down the state, both myself and my running mate, Garrett Soldano, we stood up against Whitmer. We went around the state and we said, never shut down your business. What the government is doing to you is unconstitutional. Became a rallying cry for our campaigns. Never submit to tyranny. Since that point, I've represented children in middle school, kids with disabilities who couldn't wear masks, who were sent home. Families trying to reunite with their loved ones in hospitals, and the government telling them, we cannot give you ivermectin. You cannot see your family. You can say goodbye by FaceTime from the garage. That should never happen in our state. Representing people who were fired because they didn't want to participate in the pandemic and take the vaccine. It is not an issue, people, of what people say. Look at what they have done. Look at the movements that Garrett and I have created over the last 3 years. Look at the people I have represented, the things I have sacrificed. The lawsuit I filed in Antrim County to protect our rights to have fair and free election. And look what Dana Nessel did when she saw me do it. Don't kid yourself. She started a criminal investigation against me. Make no mistake, it's not words that matter, it's actually actions, people. Take that in mind. Thank you.
I would answer yes as well. And I think this question gets to the question that's on the heart and minds of our family, and probably families up here and families in the audience. Can we as conservatives win elections while staying true to our values. I actually take the copy of the 10 Commandments with me everywhere I go. It's in my trusted backpack. And I read in Hebrew and in English every day. And I read from the 5 books of Moses. I read from the New Testament. I pray with Jews. I pray with Christians. I pray and will work with anybody who will work to advance our conservative agenda. I'm asked every day as an activist, as a former candidate, and as a donor, can you be bought? Lena Epstein will never be bought. I'm a woman of courage. I don't handpick the favorites. And in conservative fashion, it is the job of the incoming party chairman to facilitate beautiful conventions, to make known our platform that does resonate with most Michigan voters. So yes, I will try to lead with morality, so that one day when my little baby's old enough, she makes the decision to try to model something for her daughter. It's going to be tough raising money for the party. The state party chair, to Mr. DePerno's point, is correct. It is largely a fundraising job. So that when we, as an America First base, and we're all America First, when we get through our conventions, we have the proper funding to defeat the real enemy, while we sit in here trying to compare who's more conservative. The real winners are outside, making Michigan the new abortion capital of the United States of America. I will never be bought. I will do what's right for my daughter, and I can look each one of you in the eye and say, I will offer such humility, and I look forward to learning from each and every one of you as well.
Thank you. You can hold on to your chance to answer the next question. Well, thank you. All right, question number 2. What do you think of this? Is complicated. I know you guys only have a minute, so we'll try to do the best you guys can. What do you think went wrong with the 2022 election? What is your strategy to win back the legislature, the governor positions, and what changes will you make to the election campaign process that will help us win elections in the future?
I do think that what went wrong in 2022, and I can tell you on good authority what I saw as a statewide nominee. I'm sorry to walk across. Just over here. Okay, stand in the light. It was an issue of funding. And I say that with great respect to the other people that tried to raise money. We left millions on the table. I would rather sit privately and talk a little bit about what I saw, but we didn't have the funding that we needed to compete. I love fundraising. I like calling people and asking them for their dollars. It's enjoyable to me. I do it in my free time. And I think that's why I've been able to raise money, because I enjoy it from the heart, and I've been able to perform. I'm not going to be a perfect chair, but with me as chair, I have a plan to fix 2022 by the bucks. Michigan is expensive to compete in statewide. TV and radio and print are cost prohibitive. And Gretchen Whitmer is running for president. And since Michigan is number 5 on the list of primaries, Soros money and Bloomberg money that flows through this town, it's going to keep coming. So please allow me to once again say that the answer in 24 is going to be proper funding, and my commitment is 20 million. That's it. Let me just stay there. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I got to live with firsthand. Fortunately, and I can tell you what went wrong in the election was several things. Obviously, fraud committed by the Democrats, no question about it. But also a problem with funding, as Nina said. We didn't raise enough money. We got no help from the RNC. Ron Romney has to go, people. We got no help from the Michigan GOP. We got no help from many of our state legislatures and senators, people who were competing for the same dollars, who hoarded those dollars, who redistributed those dollars to their own favorite candidates and starved us at the top of the ticket. Too much division in our party. People, we spent too much of the general election fighting each other. Trying to decide who's more conservative than the other. Calling people names, who's a rhino, who's establishment, who's a grassroots. We have to change that, people. That has to end, because I tell you what is happening right now. The independents are watching us, watching things like this race. The media is writing about this and the fact that we can't get it together. And the independents say to themselves, who do I want to join with? Do I want to join with the independents or the Republicans? We have to change that mindset, people. We have to bring unity back to the party. We have to fundraise. We have to create a ballot chase program that we did not have in this election. Proposal 2 passed, people. It is the law now. We have to deal with that. And when I am chair, I will create the biggest, most effective ballot harvesting program that the Democrats have ever seen in this state. When we're done with them and we bring 1.5 million ballots to the election poll on Tuesday morning of election, we're going to have the Democrats screaming about fraud. That's how we're going to change this. And we have to, as GOP leaders, do something about proposal 2, do something about proposal 3. We have to change those things and restore integrity back to our state. Thank you.
Couple things, I'll take a little different spin on it. There is election fraud, we know that it happened, laws were broken. Laws are always going to be broken, and there's always going to be criminals. That isn't new. What is new is we've never had people who weren't arrested before, and we've never had people who weren't prosecuted before. So what is the problem? The problem is that we have people that won't do their job. And we have to ask ourselves why that is. Why have the people allowed elected officials to not do their job? And however you want to spin it, we have to deal with that problem. And it's going to take the people to do it before that power is taken away from us. Another thing that went wrong that Republicans aren't paying attention to is the youth. We got beat very badly with the youth. The youth outnumbered us tremendously. The Democrats have been on college campuses telling the youth that they're important, that they have important jobs to do, that we need them. We haven't been doing that. We lost the youth vote. We have the young people thinking that they're all kinds of crazy things. How did that happen? That's a real problem. And it showed up in the vote. We have another problem that's coming up. In a couple of years, the people that are in high school now who think they're all kinds of things besides women and boys, they're going to start voting. And you don't have to stuff the ballots to win. We're going to have overwhelming numbers against us, and it won't even need to involve cheating. So that's a problem that we have to deal with. We, the people, have to deal with that problem.
Regarding what went wrong in 2022, one, systemic election corruption. As chair of the Michigan Republican Party, I would pursue legal actions against any election official who violates Michigan election law. The second thing I would do is organize our delegates and volunteers. That way we could go and engage in their various actions at the precinct level to ensure that our election system is grand clean. One, cleaning up the QBF, also going after the precinct case and working our elections. Also, our messaging has been a consistent problem as a Republican. For the years I've been involved in the party, we talk about how bad our messaging is, and everyone acts like this is a joke. It's not funny. It's we have to understand the process of meeting people where they are. With my background in apologetics, I understand exactly how to meet people where they are in hostile environments. Next thing we have to do is ensure that we expand our party. We have to quit relying on these Lincoln dinners, just waiting till August to reach out to people. We have to be involved in our communities all year long. We have to build relationships with people in our community. That way, by the time election comes around, they're more primed to vote Republican. We have to keep in mind that we have another thing working against us, the media, education, entertainment system. So even if we raise dollar for dollar with the Democrats raise, they still have an advantage over us when it comes to the media. So we have to have unique ways to have a sufficient ground game that we can work ahead of that. Also, when it comes to our young people, we have to make sure that we're recruiting them young on the college campuses. Also, when it comes to raising money, one of the problems we have in our party is because too often we do not act like conservatives, that we are alienating activists and donors. There are so many donors who will no longer give to the party or to even Republican candidates because too often when Republicans get in office, we don't act like Republicans, so they feel there's no point. So those are lots of things that I would do differently to ensure that we will win 2022, 2024 and beyond. Thanks.
we all speak the truth on this. 2022 should have been labeled, keep the line live by the Democrats. That's what they did to us in 2022. With that being said, there's a lot of things that need to be changed, not just with proposal 2. Let's back up a little bit. Our candidates were not given ample time to get their absentee ballot. We need to move the primary. We're working with some archaic data here. Our primary needs to be moved up and closed for our Republicans to have an honest and fair chance for us to pick the right people. And by moving that up, because we are a people of choice, 20%, less than 20% of the Democrats were primary last election. So that means they won. They were out fighting for the general. They beat us there. We went and showed us multiple candidates. August 2nd, we got our team. Yay. September, you got to get the absentee votes. Nobody had the funding. Unbelievable. Just the simple things like that. Now, moving on to proposal 2. Yeah, we have an uphill battle. But you know what the blessing is? The blessing is I got Sandy. And she has a wonderful, genuine, godly, lawful plan to make Michigan red again. And I'm really proud of that because this is bigger than just one man. This is going to take a family and our delegates and our friends. We have to step up. We have to do it together. And so, God bless you. That's what I think happened.
I'm going to answer this in 2 parts. One is an editorial. What happened in the 2000 election or 2022 election? It started in April in Grand Rapids. And Christina Paramo took the stage and said, as our candidate nominee, I need all of you to vote for Matt DePerno. Right there and then the funding from the good old Boys and Girls Club stopped because you have 2 people with integrity and honor who weren't for sale. And they weren't about to put up their money for somebody that they don't own. It was very clear their slate was wiped out. Behind the scenes, that idiot who ran, I can't think of his name, with Lena, he made a deal with the establishment, stabbed Lena in the back. Thank God we don't have that guy in the Michigan Board of Regents. Secondly, Dr. Linda Lee Tarver, while she was back there making sure there was election integrity, they tried stabbing her in the back. These people we don't want in our party. They are not Republicans. They don't believe in our platform. They are establishment elitists. And we don't need them. They are the cancer in this party, creating this chaos. What happened? We started getting so dependent on these people and their money. A free convention. No, they bought the convention. Candidates had all kinds of money as long as they adhered to these other individual platforms. My friends, if we are going to change everything, first and foremost, we get behind Patrick Kovac and his plan. These other plans, I'm sure, are great as well. Get behind them. Because if we do not straighten out our elections, then we can do nothing else. But we get behind Kovac's plans. Also, Freedom Works, Freedom Tees. The flyers are out there on the table.
Well, I think I've said a few things already. It's the election system, the process. It's fraudulent from the electronic poll book to the tabulators to the data that's being exported. Okay, it's a fraudulent system. That's why we lost in 2022, 2020, 2018. We will lose more in the future unless this is eliminated. Okay. Secondly, you had 4 people, Jason Wentworth, Mike Shirkey, Ann Boland, and Ruth Johnson, that gave the Democrat, Jocelyn Benson, 2 free days to do pre-processing of absentee ballots. That did us in as well. But you want to know, we had an opportunity to try to overturn some things. We had an opportunity to try to get police investigations and prosecution. I'm the one that has been going after trying to get cops to investigate sheriffs. We have one good sheriff, Darlene, over there in Berry County, near you. I tell you what, all the rest of them, as far as I'm concerned, are worthless. Same thing with the prosecutors. But there's a gentleman on this stage who had an opportunity to help out, and he disappeared after entry. And yes, I'm talking about Matt DePerno. He's an attorney. We have an attorney named Stephanie Lambert and another one named Dan Hartman. They're working full-time on our election cases. And I tell you what, we could have used Matt DePerno's help and he disappeared because he was afraid of Fräulein Dan Nessel. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, question number 3. And I know some of these questions tend to be a little bit passionate or long-winded, but just do what you can to keep to the time frame, keep things moving. Good. All right, question number 3. Can you unite the party? Specifically, what concrete steps will you take to unify the fractured groups in the party, such as Trumpers versus never Trumpers, establishment versus first fracture, so on. So just unifying the party, what do you think? We'll start with Scott and just work our way right back. Yep.
Well, I tell you what, I said some pieces about unity and I have the unconventional view. I don't support unity of this party in the current state. I can tell you the establishment, the rhinos, whatever you want to call them, the money people, and again, I'm a capitalist pig. But most people with money in politics support the pay-to-play. I support getting the counties to do most of the fundraising and the spending. Yeah, I'll go out, I've got sales background, I got marketing background. I can go out and raise money for the Central Party. But I tell you what, we have to get rid of the pay-to-play concept. And the whole idea of raising a bunch of money for the Central Party will no longer work for this party. And what I would like to do, I'd like to see a lot of those big money people slide off to the Democrat Party. Because if you follow the money trail, take a look to see how their expenditures are for these candidates, you'll find a lot of the corporate executives go to Consumers Energy in Jackson. If you look at their spending, they donate to Democrats a heck of a lot more than they do Republicans. And I would like to go after and build the party from the people in the inner city. These are faith-driven people, and we need to reach out to them. As a person of faith, I have a responsibility to Jesus Christ to reach out to these people. They could benefit from Republican and conservative values. Thank you.
Well, if you didn't like Donald Trump against Joe Biden, who did you like? If you're a never Trumper that sabotaged the campaign, I'm not doing anything to unify with you. I don't want you to. I mean, if you're not America first, where is America? Second, third? Getting on the issue of unification. I had already said, this top-down mentality has failed us for years. It's been going on a long time. But from the bottom up, if we can fill as many vacancies as we can for precinct delegates. And then we take this group, using freedom teams, myself and other leaders. And we teach you about the Constitution, how to fight, how to run for local office, how to do whatever flavor or whatever signature you do best. There is nothing greater than watching a party grow of America First people. If you think about it, it was President Trump who brought this, who woke us all up. I see the red card, thank you.
This is a perfect example of what we've already done in Tuscola County. I'm the current GOP chair in Tuscola County, and here's what we did. When I got voted in, I got voted in by 8 members. That was it. There was 8 people in Tuscola County, out of 52,000. And what we did was, you got it's leadership. Number one, a leader that's willing to pick up his boots and fight for the platform of the Republican Party. And so how did we do that? They masked our kids. They told our kids that they couldn't go out on the playgrounds. They told our kids that they had to be separated. They even took a couple of our kids in one of our school systems and put a COVID center in a basement that was built in 1960 with asbestos. We fought for our kids. And when they saw that family fighting for their kids, they were inspired. And so what they did was people are like, I want to be a part of this. There's a leader that's willing to take it on the chin, willing to put their family's name and reputation on the line and do it for the greater good of our God and country. And so that's what we did. So we went from 8 members to 142 in 1 year. Then we went from 5 delegates. And I was ashamed of that because we only sent 5 delegates to a convention in 2020. We are allowed 15. We went from 5 delegates to 104. And we're a small town, 52,000 people population, 22,000 voters, and in a town of 4,200. And if we can do that in a small town, what can we do with the state? Leadership. You want a leader that is bold, godly, and willing to put their name on the line and tell people, tell Dana Nessel, tell Benson, and whatever, even Buttigieg, we have to plan for him because he's coming out. No more. What is good will be spoken of as evil. These are my people. Get out of my way. If you talk bad about my Republican family, I will burn it to the ground. So that's what a leader does.
So when it comes to unity, we have to be clear that unity is not being silent in the face of evil. One of the things I did in my life is I taught conflict resolution, and how you resolve conflict. One of the first things is to not just resolve it, but to prevent it, is to have a shared set of rules that we all agree to. And for us as Republicans, our Republican Party platform that is rooted in our Judeo-Christian values that state that we are the party of the Constitution. And so that has to be the measuring stick for internal party accountability. So it depends on what the individual actions are doing. So we all are aware that politics for various reasons attract certain cast of characters who are just bent on conflict, selfishness, pettiness. That's one group of issues we have to deal with. But then you also have a set of issues of these people who are conservative posers who want to pressure everybody else into moving into their side that violates our party platform. If we adhere to the party platform, that is an easy way of resolving conflict and saying, listen, what you're advocating for, or what you're trying to pressure me to do violates the party platform. And then we have to hold those individuals accountable depending upon what it does, what they have done. So again, there's a difference between people's petty personality differences, and that's something that we have to deal with as well as a party. But then there's also the issue of individuals who are trying to pressure us to move away from the party platform. And if you want us to move away from the party platform, why are you a Republican? Amen.
Gone to many counties across the state, and I don't see a lot of division. In fact, I see a lot of unity. The people are very united about what they agree on, but they're not united against the current leadership that they see, and there is a lot of division there. So what is a Trumper versus a never Trumper? What I see are never Trumpers who are either representatives, senators, or business people who have certain stakes business-wise that Trump's policies interfere with, therefore they don't want them. And then people who support Trump want the Constitution. So that's the battle. It's not, people versus people, but it's who's in control of certain profit. Now, how did those people get control of those certain profit? It's because the people just backed out. The people stopped participating in the politics, and for quite some time, people could operate in the dark and build up a system that they liked, and then they tried to keep people out of it. We still have a political system that if the people would get involved, it can be changed, but it takes a force of the people. I certainly can't do anything. I can't approach Dana Nessel. I could stand up here and tell you some speech about how tough I am and how I won't back down, but who's gonna listen to me? I don't have any power, but the people do. But the people have to unite in such a force to make themselves heard. And if you've seen in Brazil, what do you see? There's like 1 million people getting together. If you look in Argentina, there's like 1 million people getting together. So things had to get bad enough to cause 1 million people to come together into a force. So how bad does it have to get in America for that to happen? We just got Prop 3 on the ballot. Is that bad enough? Millions of babies are going to die. Is that bad enough? I don't even know the number. Thousands and thousands and thousands of ladies' lives are going to be devastated. Is that enough? What is it going to take? The chair of the party has no power. He can't make any decisions. He can't do anything. So what the chair of the party is supposed to do is to provide leadership to inspire the people in the party to stand up for themselves and how to operate within this great political parliamentary system that our founding fathers gave us. But we have to use it. We have to stand up. We have to participate in it. We have to hold the people accountable. All of the sources of problems that have been mentioned have the root that people aren't doing their job, and we have lost the ability to hold them accountable. Our laws allow us to hold these people accountable, but we lost it.
Thanks. We do have a leadership problem in the MIGOP. We had a leadership problem in this last election. Make no mistake about it, people. Ron Weiser was an absent MIGOP chair. He didn't raise money that he needed to. He didn't reach out to people he needed to. He let our legislature run wild. He didn't bring lawsuits like he should have against the Democrats. That's a big problem. There's a big problem. And a leader is a person at the top of the party who brings everyone together, gets everyone rowing in the right direction. Look at the Democrats. They would elect Satan if she was on the ballot. And I can tell you what, from this last election, she was. I ran against her. Make no mistake about it. But we didn't unite as a party in this last election. We didn't bring people together. We didn't get the vote out. We didn't have a ballot safe program. We didn't have a get out the vote program in this state because we didn't have the funding to do it. Now, I tell you what, I went around the state, I did over 500 events in a 2-year period. But think of that, if I do 500 events and I talk to 100 people in an event on average, think of that. And maybe not all of them are brand new because there's always overlap in events. I'm only reaching 50,000 people. That's not enough to win an election. We have to raise money. We have to raise at least $50 million to compete in this next election. Governor Whitmer was up on TV before our August primary. And Tudor Dixon, as much as I like her, and I do, didn't get on TV until mid-October because the funding that was promised to her never came. You cannot sustain 7 weeks of negative campaign ads to the population of the state of Michigan and expect to win. That's what happened to us. Unity. And I can unite this party because I've done it. After I won in April, I called every state senator, state representative. I called all the people that didn't like me. I had a lot of conversations with people who didn't like me. They were not all fun conversations. But in the end, I was able to raise $5.8 million in this election because I united people. I can do it. Thank you very much.
I'm pretty amazed right now at the talent on this stage. Woo! The question of unity. I do think that unity is possible for us right now. I spend a lot of time in the 5 books of Moses, and in the absence of spiritual leadership, the people fought and they had false idols, and nothing different. This is just history happening again. And so in terms of unity, yeah, I do have unifying capabilities. I have proven unifying capabilities. In business, I think about bringing on some new suppliers that I thought could never coexist under the same umbrella. I did serve as a unifying member as a very early Trump supporter. And my start did not come with the raising the dollars. It came with the rallies and the groundswell. There's a path to unity, and it comes with winning our general elections. We're acting like a bunch of losers because at the moment we are. In terms of unity, my plan involves activist engagement and activist empowerment. I experienced firsthand the state party of Michigan try to control who ran in the primary for Secretary of State and University of Michigan Board of Regents. I had the chairman threaten me if I didn't run for SOS, and he wanted Lena Epstein to run for SOS. But I said, sir, God is telling me as a young mom, it's time to serve U of M, and I'm going to go forward. As your incoming chair, state party will forever stay out of the convention choosing of candidates and out of the primary choosing as the base. This is our moment of power. I hope each of you take your time in picking your state chairman. This is an incredible group. But yes, we will unify again. And the empowerment comes from the fact that state party is not going to be cherry picking winners and losers. We are the foundation of our government, each and every one of us in here. Behind us are hundreds and thousands of people that feel like we do. But because we didn't raise the money, we couldn't get our message out. I do ask everyone in the room, and I ask it of myself too, may we not call each other names. Each one of us is Trump. Each one of us is America first. And really each one of us is just a conservative trying to make the world better for his and her family. Thank you.
You're good. Okay. Let's take the time, I've just find everybody. Okay, great answers, I appreciate it. All right, question number 4. What will you do to grow the Republican Party?
The best way to grow the Republican Party is to beat the Democrats at their game. They crushed us in 2018 with the ballot initiative about cannabis. They crushed us last year when we got our way nationally and they wanted to make Michigan an abortion capital of America. What is going to make us grow is ballot harvesting. I'm going to give each of you a box, a big box. We're going to study the law and make sure that we're following the new law. We're going to beat the Democrats at their own game. Chairman Epstein is going to open recruitment centers in different corners of the state. We are going to recruit people off the street, similar to the fashion of the US Army. It's going to take a lot of work, but we are going to have money with Lena Epstein as chair, so we can hire the people to drive the buses on election day, to take people to the polls. Chairman Epstein will have the funding so that on election day, we can pay the right people to do the job and hold the lawmakers accountable. We have a huge task ahead. I think that the job of us as the base has never been bigger. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Well, one thing we have to do is improve our youth involvement in this party. We couldn't even get on college campuses the last election. Some colleges don't even have Republican Party groups. We have to recruit. Look what the Democrats did in this last election with the youth. We have to change that. But I am a firm believer that Michigan is a red state. I believe there are more of us here than there are of Democrats. But we have to change the way we get people involved and how we run elections. Under a DePerno administration, we will have offices in every district. Front door offices where people can come in and engage with staff about our platform, where people can come in and volunteer. And in 83 counties, we will create the biggest ballot harvesting program that this state has ever seen. We will use delegates and volunteers to launch that effort in 83 counties. And we will show the Democrats that there are more of us than there are of them. Thank you.
Okay, growing the Republican Party, to me, that doesn't mean winning elections. We won a lot of elections. We had a majority in the House, we had a majority in the Senate, and it achieved us nothing. In fact, we went in the opposite direction. So what went wrong with that? We have to examine what went wrong with winning elections, because we got Republicans in there, right? The membership has to grow with real Republicans, and we have to get better at judging the fruit. We've been horrible judges of actual fruit with people. Growth begins with goals. If you don't set a goal, you're not going to grow anything. And there's been no leadership and no goals set for the Republican Party. In my view, the chair should be setting goals for each county to grow the membership, and that information should spread to the other counties to make a peer system so we see which counties are growing and which counties are stagnant and where counties need help. The Republican Party does need to grow, but who's going to grow it? If you think that I'm going to grow the Republican Party, you're not paying attention. You people have to grow the Republican Party. You people have to care. You people have to care enough to bring in more people to grow this party. Because the truth that stings is that we're the ones who let the party dwindle. You know, we can point our fingers at people who've done bad things, but the question is, how did they get into office in the first place? And that's the question that we have to face and that we have to fix. And it always comes back to us. We have to get involved. We have to participate. We need a better class of people that we're electing. And who does that begin with? It begins with the people. It begins with the delegates. One of the rights that a delegate has is the power to nominate. Many people don't know this. And we don't make nominations, we accept nominations. We're told who to vote for, but we're the ones who are supposed to do the selecting in the first place. And that requires a lot of work. You have to evaluate. So look at the way you're vetting us. Look at the examination that you are giving to us. Well, what if you applied that to a lot of other positions? You would probably have a better class of commissioners. You would probably have a better class of sheriff. You'd probably have a better class of judge. I can't even remember the last time anywhere that a judge got this level of scrutiny. So is it surprising that we have a judge who won't take a criminal case? It just comes back to us.
So how I would grow the Republican Party, one, with a background in apologetics, I understand how to meet people where they are and engage hostile actors. Why is that important? People hear the Democratic message all year long. They hear it on Netflix, they hear it when they turn on their nightly news, they hear the Democratic message through the music they listen to. So we as Republicans have to have the accurate situational awareness of the problem that we're in, that we have to do life with our community all year long. We too often want to create victory centers and people to come to us. No, Democrats meet people where they are. They go into their communities, they go to their events. One of the examples I gave last night is that at Wayne State University, they have this festival called Dally in the Alley, which is like a music festival, it's art and all these various entertainment things. And the communists have a table, the socialists have a table, the Democrats have a table, where the Republicans absent. We want people to come to us, we have to go to them. Another thing we need to do is have more effective messaging. We're too often on the defense. We are always explaining ourselves. We too often let the Democrats create the environment and then we go fight on their battlefield instead of having them come to us. So we need to put them on the defense. So when it comes to informed strategy and tactics, knowing how to engage people where they are, because it's not just enough to turn Republicans out, we need to move Democrats to voting Republican, and that comes with them changing their perception of us. One of the very interesting things that I have experienced is when I encounter people, they'll go, wow, you're a really nice person. You're not like the lady I see in commercials. So the reality is that we are waiting until the election season to change the way people think about it. So that is going to be really, really critical if we're going to grow our party. It's critical that we work with our young people. We do not invest enough in our college Republicans. My generation, millennials, as people typically grow older, they become more conservative. Ours is not. So it's going to be really critical that we reach out to young people where they are, especially our college Republicans. We need to invest in them. Also, we need to mentor our youth. So if we're mentoring them, walking alongside them, all of those things in tandem will result in our party growing.
It starts with firm leadership. That's exactly it. Somebody that you can invest in, that you love and want to be a part of. We want to win. That's first and foremost. Right now, 800 people donate to the MIGOP. That's what they donated last. I had more people donating to Squaw County than I did in the MIGOP. Why? Because our image is crap. Our website is unfunctional. We don't even know. We can't even find the bylaws half the time. I called the wrong district chair that has been retired for 2 years. Why is it our own website has failures? We have an image problem. And in business, when we call it Mrs. Smith walks in the door, in the first 10 minutes, she knows, can I buy here? Can I bring my kids here? Is it safe? Does it look good? Does it smell good? We have zero image. Our branding is zero. We rebrand the way we do things. People will want to be a part of a winning team. I mean, God bless them. Look at the Lions. They look great and we still support them. I mean, that's true right there. And with that being said, our youth, we have, with all due respect, I'm 39 years old. Okay. Our youth does not exist in the Republican Party. And how do we fix that? We give them something to fight for. And here's something to fight for that not one legislator has ever spoke about. You know why? Because our legislators are lazy and only think about themselves in the retirement program. I'm proud to say that our Republicans right now are the laziest bunch of groups of people I've ever met. Okay. And with that being said, what about our youth? It says right in the federal constitution, no taxation without representation, right? Every one of our youth's constitutional rights are being infringed. They go to work, they take out Social Security, FICA, income tax, tax the tax, tax your tax, pay my tax. And our kids have lost that. 18 and younger, we want to put a ballot proposal Saturday night together, get ready for 2024, because that's the only way we're going to be able to legislate ballot proposals. We want to put on there no tax rates, no taxation without representation for youth. Proudly sponsored by the Republican Party. We care for you and your family. That is going to be like, I want to get on that. They're giving me money back in my check. Those are just the small things that we show the youth that we want to do for them. They will want to invest in us. So God bless you.
It starts a little bit before college. It starts really, the Democrats start at the very bottom. We need to kind of do that We need to have constitutional conservatism 101. The moment you're out of the womb, when they give you a social security card, you are handed a Constitution of the United States. And I say that, that's obviously tongue in cheek, but there is the mentality, my friends. I've been, Martin Luther King said, I'm not the man I should be, but I'm glad I'm not the man I was. Had I just 10 years ago become the man I am right now, I'm scared to think of the things that I could have accomplished right here in this party. But here we are. I have an ability with people when I put on events and I do things that draws them in large numbers. We need to do that. Our events in a county need to be fun. They need to be exciting. They need to be just, when people go home, the rush is amazing. And it's not a rush because they're part of the GOP family, that they are part of an America First revolution. I see the card. Thank you.
Americans like to have their ears tickled. So do many Christians. And there's a great danger to that. Because you can lose track and lose focus of what is valuable in the process. I'm a former atheist, and I came to Jesus Christ about 15 years ago. The youth of today don't value the same morality that we do. They don't. So I'm not abandoning the youth. I'm not abandoning trying to talk to them. But they simply want to do what feels good, but many of them do. Not all, but many of them do. That's a priority. That's by design. Destroy the moral structure of the society, of everything, from government to the church, everything. You see a lot of churches that have abandoned the Bible. So I'm a little restrictive about investing. I don't want to shut them out, but investing time to try and recruit out the youth. Let's go to the rural communities. There's a lot of apathy, people that are fed up with the Republican Party. I'm one of them. That's part of the reason I'm running. Maybe we bring some of those people back. The final thing is the urban areas. That's where we have the greatest opportunity to grow, is in the cities. The inner urban areas, that's where many Christian, Judeo-Christian philosophy lies. We have an opportunity there to grow the party. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, question number 5, moving on. How will you raise funds? What's the largest budget you have successfully managed?
Well, I've had about 400 employees work underneath me, and that was the budget in the supermarket I managed in Archibald, Ohio. I'm trying to remember, we probably went through about $10 million through a year, but I had to go through the monthly budget, monthly payroll, monthly purchasing, various other things. I have a different approach to money and power. I'm poor. I live week to week right now. I'm a drywall contractor, but I've had to invest time into the election investigation, and I'm a volunteer. God bless the communities where I've done evidence presentation. They have done, they pulled jars out to help me with expenses. JD went around doing the precinct delegate training and charged $97 a head. That's significantly more than what I didn't ask for any money. And they went out and charged. What I want to do is put the burden of the fundraising in the counties. And I want to be restrictive of raising money in the central party. There's a great danger to the pay for play scheme to grow again. It seems like something that Matt DePerno would like to see in place again.
I've been in the food service business a long time. I think the largest budget I've been part of is somewhere around $1 million. I think the lowest was recently probably around about $10,000. That's the answer to the specific question of what's the largest budget that you have successfully managed. The better part of that is what to do with your dollars. A dollar is hard to earn. So we need to make sure it is spent wisely. When we are raising money, one of my negatives is I'm not a big fundraiser, but I'm fortunate that I have people who are extremely affluent that have put together a committee and they're going to help me raise money. It's like what I call old money. They've been donors to the party for years, but they stopped recently. These are people with millions of dollars, even billions of dollars. The bottom line of this is where do we direct those dollars? Because this has been said numerous times here, but it's very, very true and it's worth reiterating one more time. We can have $1 trillion in cash. If we do not fix the election system, the result will always be the same.
Fiscal responsibility, that's key. Biggest budget, I don't like to flaunt it, but we just finished a $7.8 million medical project for my brother. He is a family doctor, and we partnered with the third largest hospital in the state of Michigan, and they lease from us. That's what our family does. We do commercial real estate, and we land develop. So budgeting, financial reports, that's the easy part. That's actually the fun part. And that's one of the things that Sandy and I are doing, is doing a forensic audit of the whole MIGOP and a lot of the money laundering that's been going on and what we have lost over the last 10 years. We have no infrastructure. And so we need to create an infrastructure that we can cash flow. It's plain and simple. You know, all the candidates up here talk about money and donations and donations. That's great. People will donate. That's a given. Okay. But what about sustainable income? That's not there. We should have our own convention center ready to go. And we use it 2 times a year, and then we lease it out for the rest. Weddings, events, visit through trade shows. That infrastructure should already be in place. And so it's going to take a business mind to change MIGOP and then hand it over. That's what it's going to take.
So when I ran for SOS, we raised double of what the last Republican nominee for Secretary of State raised. And one of the ways we were able to do that is with credibility. One of the ways we will be able to have the money that the party needs by restoring credibility back to the party that has alienated a lot of our donors. Another issue with our party is only a small segment of people have been funding the party. We saw in the year of 2022, about 25 people funded 98% of the funds of the party. That is not a healthy model. We have to diversify how we receive our funds. So of course, we want to have small dollar donations, and that comes with party credibility. Also, business owners. There are about 500,000 Republican small-owned businesses in the state of Michigan. And if only 20% of those gave $100 a year, that's about $10 million. So if you have a credible party and you have constant contact with those businesses, because we have to remember our business community faces the front end of abuse from our government and more likely willing to give if they see a party worth investing in. I cannot say that enough. That one of the reasons why a lot of people quit giving to the party is because they don't see enough of us acting like Republicans, so they feel like what's the point? So if you have a chair that gives them something to invest in instead of the same old talking point, then people will want to give to the party. The largest budget I ever managed was our SOS budget because my background is in education. So my professional career didn't require me to manage large budgets. However, one of the things that's important about me, I know how to bring together teams of people, how to profile competent individuals who have a finance background, some I already have on our team, who will then go off and help us manage our budget and raise more money. Another thing that we were able to do is the working value of your dollar. So it's not just the money you bring in, it's how you spend it, because we see a lot of people will bring in a whole lot of money and waste it frivolously and blow the money. So the working value of the dollar is just as critical as how much money you bring in. Thank you.
Largest, actually the last part first, the largest budget I've ever handled is a couple $1 million. I raised $3 million via venture capital to fund a software company of 20 employees. We successfully built a product and sold that product and the company for multi-million dollars. So that answers that. With regards to my class, that's an interesting story. That started out when people wanted to be trained, and I realized it was going to take quite a while to train them. So I put together an 8-hour boot camp and charged $97 for it, per person to show up. And the first people that showed up were 5 ladies that were over 65 years old. And I thought, this party's in trouble. But they prayed a lot and it grew. I only do the class word of mouth. I don't advertise it. And every Saturday it keeps coming up. Everyone keeps requesting it. Tomorrow I'm doing a class and 40 people are going to show up. And it was completely word of mouth. The interesting thing is that I have kids showing up now. And for the first time, I had a large class that had more men than had women. So there's hope for the party. And where this is hopeful is that you have people now who actually know how to engage in the parliamentary process that our founding fathers gave us. Everyone can pick up the book, learn it themselves. You can educate yourself any way you want. There are many, many methods in this country to educate yourself. You can buy a book for $15. You can read it for free. You can go online. You can watch YouTube videos for free. If you want to take my class, you're free to come to my class. You're free not to come to my class. It's completely up to you. That's the capitalistic system that we have. How we raise funds for the party is the party is up for sale. Someone's going to buy it. Either the delegates are going to buy it by putting their money into it, or someone else is going to buy it. If the delegates are not willing to put money into the party, then how is anyone else going to be willing to put money into the party? When you raise venture capital, the first thing a venture capitalist asks you is how much money of yours have you put into it? And if you haven't put any of your money into it, they're not going to give you anything.
Let's dispel a misconception first. Raising money is very hard for political reasons. Make no mistake about it. We have had a hard time of raising money for years, for decades in Michigan. You can say that there's, 10,000 businesses out there. Let's go target those businesses. Let's get every one of them to donate $100. I can tell you, I just ran a statewide election. It is very hard to get people to part with their dollars. Business people understand the value of a dollar. It's their money, they earned it, and they are not going to give it away freely unless you build relationships with them. That is what is important. Understanding who they are, what they care about, sitting down and talking to them multiple times and having multiple phone conversations with them. It is hard work. The money doesn't just come. You have to work at it. And we worked extremely hard at it this last election. We raised almost, over $5.8 million from a lot of people who didn't initially like me. But they came around because we had multiple conversations with them. We put forth our plan, our vision, and they bought into it. They said, Matthew Perno's a reasonable guy and a thoughtful attorney, and we will invest in them. That's what donors are looking for, an investment in people who are running the state party right now, and they lost it. They didn't have confidence in Ron Weiser. But think of this, Ron Weiser gave $7 million of his own dollars to the party in the last election cycle. When he is gone, how do you replace that? You replace it through relationships, meetings, and talking to people. You can never have the idea that the money just comes. It is hard work. That's how we're going to do it. Thank you.
God blessed me with some resources that I've been able to put into ways. The philanthropic board that I oversee is $1 billion fund. Festival Oil is $250 million in annual sales. We just had our best year. In 2012, Jim Tino asked me to chair the Oakland County Republican Party Lincoln Day dinner. And I took that dinner in 2012 from a 400-person dinner to 1,435. We were graced by Ann Romney, Rick Santorum, and I did that by virtue of the Conservative Committee. $30 million in the last 7 years. And yes, there are PACs and super PACs. I can bring the bucks. I have a base of support. And it's driven primarily from my success in business. Don't worry about the super PACs. It is free market economy. But I will tell you that this is a very, very important part of the conversation. I think $20 million is what I can raise. I think Mr. DePerno is right. It's going to cost more like 50. So in the spirit of this, allow me as your incoming chair to consider a donation to the Michigan Republican Party in the beginning of March of this year. I do not want any of us to pay 50 or even 20 bucks to go to our convention. State party needs to have the money to facilitate. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're at our last question. We're getting close to our public Q&A and then meet and greet time. So if we can, we'll try to keep the questions and answers moving as quickly as we can to allow some time for the meet and greet here at the end. All right, last question. Will you push for election integrity in all counties, and what will you do about it?
I will certainly push for election integrity. Scott Ogby and I were talking today that we have laws in place that people are breaking the law and then we're not punishing them. So that's a huge problem. I think in order to fix that, the public has to know what's going on. And as was said tonight, the liberal media does control the message, so we have to really think about that. I engaged an amazing man called Pastor Don Eason to serve as my co-chair. Don Eason can single-handedly fix the election integrity issue. I invite each and every one of you to get to know Pastor and Mrs. Phyllis Donald Eason. I chose him to be my running mate because I saw a man who can make Wayne County go conservative. If my friends in college hadn't brought me the Bible, my friends in college at Harvard hadn't talked to me about conservative values, would I be here today? Let's go into Wayne. Let's go into the ethnic communities. The votes are there. So yes, please visit our website. Pastor Don Eason has the answer to election integrity. Thank you.
Thanks. When we filed the lawsuit in Antrim County, we did it based on the constitutional language that states that everyone in the state has the right to audit the results of a statewide election. The problem with that was right after that was passed, our Republican legislature passed a law turning over that power to the Secretary of State exclusively. If you want to fix election integrity, we need new legislators who care about the issue, and our current bunch do not. They have to repeal that law. And you as counties have to rise up and take control in your counties. I've been around the state, like I said, we did 500 events. You know, some counties I went to, county functions, county party functions, there were 10 people, 10, 15, 20 people there. Where are all the people? You want to talk about growing state party, recruit new people to come in. And you county parties need to start vetting your county clerks, your sheriffs, and your prosecutors. Because we filed complaints against people based on election. Sheriffs wouldn't take it up, prosecutors wouldn't take it up. You know, we're running this state party chair race right now. We've got something like 20 forums that are scheduled. How many counties out there have ever scheduled a forum for you to vet your prosecutor, your sheriff, or your county clerk? That's what needs to change. Your elected officials need to change. You need to get control of who your elected officials are, your House of Reps and your senators, and elect people who will repeal the laws that have given all of the power regarding our elections to Jocelyn Benson. Thank you.
Okay, pushing for election integrity in all counties, that's a yes. And I do think that the chair has the ability to apply leadership across the state for each county in that area. What would that look like? Counties were designed to be autonomous. I've been to over 32 counties and none of them have a plan for a sheriff, a district attorney, or the clerk. That's not good. They leave it to chance. So step one is you have to start planning who's going to be in these three positions. That takes a lot of work. Selecting a person, making a plan to get that person, getting that person elected. Okay, so now we have the election fund. How are you going to get that person elected? Counties have one advantage left to them, and that they can still go to a hand count, and that's under the clerk's control. Many clerks don't want to do it. Here we're back to the people again. Are the people going to get together to recruit more than 10, 20 people to show up and say, hey, clerk, you need to do this because you have a responsibility to the paperwork of the county to make sure that this happens and we want a hand count? Are you going to organize the people to show up and create a hand count audit force that will ensure it to happen? Because the counties do have the ability to elect good people locally. We've lost state for the moment. We're surrounded by too many people, too many evil people who won't do their job. The counties are really the last thing that we have under our control.
So when we talk about the issue of election integrity, we have to remember that this is a national security issue because the only way we, the people, maintain control over our government is when we vote. So if we don't have secure elections, we don't have a country. So we need to keep that in perspective. So that is my number one issue because we can do everything else right. We have lots of great ideas up here. Do everything else right. We don't have secure elections. We have nothing. As a party, one of the first things I would do is go after Jocelyn Benson for not cleaning up the QBL. Because when we look at the way our absentee system works, so many people are now exercising their constitutional right to vote absentee. Even if we do a recount, there's only certain types of fraud we can catch. If they have dirty or corrupted qualified voter file, the voter registration database is very difficult to catch that fraud. We also have an issue with the MVIC system. I will go after the state of Michigan for that system because it allows us, I could right now reroute your absentee ballot to my house during election season. So that has to be dealt with. Also, we have to work at the precinct level. We as precinct delegates are elected officials. People in our neighborhoods elected us to go and be their representatives to the Republican Party. And also another responsibility we have is to engage our neighborhoods at the precinct level because that's what it's going to take. So many of our clerks also need support from the party. There are lots of terrified clerks around the state of Michigan. If they had a Republican Party backing them, they would feel more confident when it comes to going up to Jocelyn Benson, going against Jocelyn Benson, excuse me, and their county clerks. Another thing we have to do is education. I also have a background in education. That's primarily what I've done with my adult life as a college instructor. We have to educate the public because a lot of members of the public have no idea how corrupt our election system is. They actively go into denial when they hear about it because it's absolutely terrifying to realize, oh my God, have we lost control over our government? So we have to have an initiative to educate the everyday citizen regarding the corruption in our election system. That way we'll have an upwelling of people across Michigan who will then demand honesty and integrity in our election. Thank you.
Here's what we did in Tuscola County. We grew our base and we sat down and we changed our bylaws. And our bylaws state that our legislators answer to us, and it didn't. They don't. So what we did was we said, our legislators are no longer the incumbent. If you don't uphold the family values of our principles of our Republican Party, and we set forward for you in Tuscola County, you're out. Boom, gone. We got rid of 3 legislators in this last election, 2 commissioners and 1 supervisor. Legislators are not just our House and Senate, it's our school boards. We went across the board. We changed 5 school boards from top to bottom. We changed 14 millages. We micromanaged everything from a Republican standpoint. And how did we do that? We had poll watchers and poll challengers in every one of our townships. We were recruited at the county level. We have one, you can read it right now, you can actually Google it. It's a Tuscola County Advertiser, very liberal paper. My election integrity force in Tuscola County is getting prosecuted because one of our townships didn't uphold the law. They got the prosecutor involved, they got the sheriff involved. Now, the sheriff didn't do anything, so we went to the state police. God bless them, this is coming out right now, we're doing it today. Another thing we did, we are writing a resolution in Tuscola County at our next meeting, which is January 24th, to tell our commissioners we want to handcuff in Tuscola County. We don't trust the machines anymore. You hook them to Wi-Fi, then you think so. We taught our people, we're writing a resolution, we're going to our commissioner, who are, God bless us, are Republicans, and we're going to say, get with our clerk, let's put a millage together. Fortunately, hate raising taxes, but our vote needs to count again at the county level. And so that infrastructure we have written down very detailed, and we want to share with all 83 counties. And the reason we waited is because we tried it and it's proven to work. We can show you how to take back your county. And when we take back your county, we take back our state because we're made of 83 counties, not just one big state.
Just a quick show of hands, how many are familiar with what took place this week in Ottawa County? Ottawa County swore in new legislator, I believe it was Tuesday morning. Within 2 hours, their county administrator was terminated. Their health department leadership was terminated. The Department of Equity and Inclusion, etc., was removed. It was dismantled. On top of that, they changed the legal department. I am not going to stand up here and act like I took credit for this, but many of those people came to me and wanted to learn about government. They've taken it far beyond what I could ever do, led by a guy by the name of Joe Moss and a lady named Sylvia Rhodey, who's the vice chair. But this is what we need to do. With Freedom Works, Freedom Teams, and Mike Farage as your chair, we are going to take these counties back. Ottawa is just a sample. When people are given the idea, it's almost the way when a Christian holds the Bible. When some people are inspired by politics, by the Declaration, which says remove such government when the abuses. It incites the America first. I see that. Just give me 30 more seconds. My plan is to make every county an Ottawa county. Is that gonna work? For some, it's harder said than done. But I've organized an Ottawa County is just a sample. So much so that Dana Nessel now is looking to the investigation. If you can cancel a Department of Equity and Inclusion, well, if you can start it, you can cancel it.
I'm gonna pick on Mr. DePerno again because I want to clarify something. Matt DePerno went into Antrim County, not on an election integrity issue. He went into Antrim County on a marijuana issue. On behalf of a pot shop that wanted the local marijuana referendum in the past. So that was his motive, not election integrity, and then he disappeared from all of us. He could have written a simple writ of mandamus that we could have all used in every county, 82 counties in Michigan, to force the sheriffs and the prosecutors toward election integrity cases. Specifically for me, violations of MCL 75248. Write that down. 75248 is the main one that I'm trying to get criminal investigations going on. We have a few, but I have been going across the state, not asking for $97 a head. I've been going across the state and I've had people pass charges to help cover my expenses. I'm the one that is going out trying to ensure election integrity. I'll give Christine credit too. She's been working on this for a long time. I've been trying to get sheriffs and prosecutors for a year. And I tell you what, it's not easy because they're all resisting because of what they see happening to Sheriff Darlene. Thank you.
Just to clarify, just real quick. Got one to take a couple shots at me. We did not file in Antrim County based on the marijuana issue. Man, we had a made by the Attorney General. It was not part of our complaint. I just wanted to clear this. I know. Well, the violation is not. You're not supposed to attack her again. You haven't.
Matt, let's sit down. Everybody, let's sit down. We're gonna move on. Someone Q&A.
The king. Well, you don't.
Everybody. All right. All right, so that wraps up our candidate Q&A. I know we've gone a little bit long and I know we're supposed to have a meet and greet here, so I apologize if we're only going to be able to do a couple of questions. So no going at me, I did the best I could. So, but great, thanks. Full questions, long questions. It's a short one, okay. All right, and don't forget, we will give you guys 1 minute to kind of give a final wrap-up statement. So a couple of questions here from the crowd. We'll start with Lena and we'll just work our way that way. That's fine. All right, so please, if you can, just keep them really quick. We want to give the audience a chance to meet and greet you guys before it gets too late. No, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions from the public and then we'll give you guys closing thoughts. So a couple of quick questions here. As GOP chair, how will you keep outside endorsements from influencing state elections?
I've lived in the race for US Congress where there were federal monies coming in. I've experienced as our party's nominee the flow of money from some of these entities. I think we need to really stop characterizing it as bad. It's free market economy. So I'm really excited to serve and I've really enjoyed tonight so much.
That's a question for everybody. Yep.
Can you repeat that?
I can. As GOP chair, how will you keep outside endorsements from influencing a state election?
Well, what do you mean by outside endorsement?
That's just a question to you.
Huh?
I don't know.
What, did you write the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
And I was wondering that.
Well, I don't think the MIGOP chair has the power to stop Donald Trump from endorsing anything. I understand it. The grassroots did work very hard, but if you got a problem with Donald Trump, you're not going to stop Donald Trump or any other person in this country from endorsing whoever they want. We live in a country where people have free speech. We've had Supreme Court decisions that have talked about this. You can't stop anybody from endorsing anybody. I mean, Donald Trump endorsed me. Donald Trump endorsed other people. He endorsed Tudor, endorsed Christina Brown. You can't stop someone from endorsing, and that's not a power that the MIGOP chair has or should try to take on. That would be infringing on anyone's free speech, and we are a party of the Constitution. We have to support the First Amendment.
I will accept support from all 50 states so that Michigan can go red for governor and president. I will not apologize for that. I seek support of all 50 states so that we can prevail with 5th in the union to go. Let's take as much support as we can get.
Endorsements just come down to the people. I understand what you're talking about. Sometimes endorsements are lazy. People refuse to do their homework, so they look for an easy endorsement. And as Mr. Caperno said, there's nothing the chair can do about that, or any other person. So it comes back again to how much work are the people going to put into their election process.
So on the issue of the endorsements, the chair of the Michigan Republican Party is important that you remain neutral in the primaries. That's just the ethical thing to do. As far as endorsements go, you know, it's of the people to just research every candidate for every office and make sure that we're making the wise decisions based on the evidence and not just the endorsement. And then also that we're educating our friends and neighbors, because the primary election is one that is deeply neglected, and that's oftentimes how many citizens find themselves picking the lesser of the two evils.
It's a great question. But it's gonna be hard to stop, and that's not our job, but we are to lead by example. And so what we do is we have to, the chair has to give every candidate the ability to speak their piece. And we just saw this with our last leadership. They tried to cram a different governor down our throat, and then they said, oh, I'm gonna go with this. No, every candidate, every rep, every person gets a fair shake. I don't care what walk of life they come from, what financial growth, everybody, we're looking for leaders to lead us. That's what our founding fathers did. They went out and they found leaders. And so from an MIGOP standpoint, until after the primary, every candidate that represents us gets a fair shake to be represented in front of the people and tell them their piece. Endorsements is hard, but we can keep them from inside the party. So we don't play the pay to play games. I don't do that. Everybody gets a fair shake and a fair deal to understand what every candidate, because what it does is it gives us great, wonderful, different ideas to build a better party. That's what Republicans do. Democrats don't. They say, we're going like this, take it. That's what you're going to do. We see it all the time. They're a dictatorship. So
I feel you. I supported Brian Kelly. I love President Trump, although he's not perfect. He was the best president, at least in my lifetime. Okay, and I feel you, but we can't get involved in that. Everyone knew the minute the endorsement came out, it came out. One thing we can do that's related to that, we all can agree that we need to close our Republican primary. That prevents Democrats from crossing over and a lot of them from infiltrating the party. That limits endorsements. Mike Barrage is not going to get all these endorsements from all these, a lot of these big shots, because I fought them on militants. Most of the time I lose, but at times I've won. And I mean, they don't like to lose. Of course, they bring it back 3 months later and get it. But my point being is if we close our primary, that will limit a lot of the noise. And we tweak it as it goes along. I don't know if we've ever done that. But if we can successfully find people who know how to do that, I do not. Then we tweak it as we go along and we limit that. We make it minimum.
Please forgive me, Mr. Moderator. Could I have a repeated question? I couldn't hear the gentleman.
Yeah, as GOP chair, how will you keep outside endorsements from influencing a state election?
Well, it's a question of authority. Does the GOP chair have the authority to prevent that from happening? I don't know of anything in the state GOP bylaws that prevents outside endorsements of candidates. So to me, it's a question of authority and what does the rule of law say? And from what I understand, if somebody can pull by law to prove me otherwise, to answer your question, I think that's a question that goes to the state central committee, and that's really a decision left up to them. That's something that needs to go before them, but I don't believe the state chair has the authority to prevent something like that. Thank you.
Okay, Scott, right back to you, and we'll go right back down the line. What changes would the precinct delegate role have under your leadership?
The precinct delegate role under my leadership. Well, I tell you what, I'm in a battle with the Jackson precinct delegates, not all of them. Some of them I think are exceptional, but I will say this. Because you get elected precinct delegate, sir, and the people in the gallery here, it doesn't mean you possess patriotic virtue. Doesn't mean you possess something special about being a patriot or representing all patriot philosophy and courage. And I think it's a responsibility. If you run for precinct delegate, number one, you need to understand you're an elected official. Secondly, to me, I didn't need to run for precinct delegate to love my country, and or at least what it used to be, and to love my Constitution, and for me to love Jesus Christ. But I can tell you, I think it's a deeply individual thing. I think the best thing I can do is try to inspire precinct delegates by my own actions and my own motives. Thank you.
We need to strengthen the precinct delegate system. The Democrats have these, they call super delegates. What that does is it muzzles the individual voice. Senator so-and-so has 500 votes. So when a party of 100 just gets switched like that, I think we all remember that corrupt Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz from Florida, who was passing them around like cocaine at a nightclub in New York. But the bottom line is we need to strengthen the individual precinct delegate power. It's no different than the electoral college. It forces all of us. I think next week we're going to the Upper Peninsula. It forces us to respect each and every precinct delegate as an electorate. That's what we need to do. And we need to make sure that the power-hungry people that were showing the door in this party never infiltrate back, because that's exactly what they want to do, to neutralize.
Did you say it one more time? I can't. What changes would the precinct delegate role have under your leadership?
From what I see from the precinct delegates, God bless you guys, there is no changes. You guys are the closest thing to the township level. You're elected by the people directly. I mean, for you to donate your time and your effort, God bless you, period. And it's more the question of what I can do for you. We need to give you the technology and the training to be bigger and bolder than ever. You guys have a voice. We need to unify and attack the Democrats. That's what we need to do. We have to have goals and we have to have accountability. And then that way we have our legislators answering to us, not just sitting up there saying, who's going to be Speaker of the House? Who's going to be Senate Majority Leader? Let's move money over here. One of the things that we should change in our MIGOP bylaws is the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader should be picked by the delegates at convention. Now, I know the MCLs say, oh, I just argued with the legislator the other day, the state says that we can do it. Are you going to go against the delegates? They're going to say their wishes for a better Michigan, somebody that can lead on our representatives. That's some of the things we need to change. So God bless you guys. The precinct delegate is strong and vital. It's more of what I can do for you to get you even stronger and have a bigger voice.
So I would say, as a delegate, one of the things we need to do is repair the relationship between party leadership and the precinct delegate. There has to be this very tight relationship because precinct delegates provide the necessary information to the party leadership to inform strategy and tactics at the precinct level. Also, with Chair, it's important that we provide support to the precinct delegates, because how many people were told, become a precinct delegate, you only have to vote 2 times a year, right? A lot of people were told that. That's false information. So most precinct delegates are kind of stuck and confused on what to do. So as party leadership is supposed to inform the precinct delegates of what they are to do, and also provide them simple things like having the bylaws of the party, of the state party. Most precinct delegates have never seen it, not because they don't want to, because it's not accessible. Also, we need to show people and have a model, actually I have a 15-point model of how to organize at the precinct level, because we have to remember that irrespective of how much money we get, the Democrats have the media and entertainment industry and the other forces that help sway the mind of the voters. So having activity, person-to-person contact at the precinct level is important. Number one, we need to have delegates organized with our neighbors. We need to know every delegate within our local precinct. Additionally, we need to also know the delegates within our city. And also, I talked to a lot of people across the state who have walked every door within their precinct. That's gonna be critical. So I mean, there's lots and lots of things to do, and I know my time is up. But one of the things that's going to be very critical is one, repairing the relationship between the delegates and party leadership. Two, party leadership for providing delegates with the information they need to actually do their job, because many people don't know what to do, just like our elected officials. They have an orientation. Delegates need the same thing because they are elected officials. And also, we need to make sure that that feedback loop exists, that way we can have delegates informing strategy and tactics for us at the state level to ensure that we're victorious in 2024.
Delegates already have a tremendous amount of power, rights, privileges. They just don't even know that they have them. So one of the things that they need to do is realize that they have those things, and then how do they apply those things? Something else that needs to happen is Americans need to remember what parliamentary procedure is, what was given to them, so that they can go to a meeting and actually function and participate. And this requires work on the delegates' part. Then they need to communicate. One of the reasons that we have no political power is that delegates don't talk to each other, so they don't unify into a voting force. That's the only kind of unity that really matters, the vote. When it comes down to it, there's a vote. We have a voting system. The majority wins, 51%. If 51% wins, 49 can go home, mad as all get out, and that's okay. That's division, but it's the right division. That's the system that we were given. But you have to get in the game and you have to fight for it. You have to show up at your meetings. You have to know how to make motions. You have to know how to amend motions. You have to know how to speak up. You have to know how to debate, and you have to know when to quit. And very few people know how to do that. Delegates have to know how to participate in convention, run convention. No delegate should ever show up to convention and say, what's happening, or when do I do this, or what's going on? That should just be a basic part of education. That comes down from leadership. The county chairs have responsibility to do that. The state chair has a responsibility to set the standard for expectation from how all of the delegates across the state are participating at their county meetings, so that they show up and they unify into voting power that actually has control again over their representatives and their senators, because that's the thing that's missing. We have no control over our representatives and our senators, and that's the actual power that the delegates have if properly applied.
How many people are delegates? I'm a delegate. How many of your county chairs have ever called you in for a meeting to help educate you and teach you as to what the role of a delegate is? Some, not many. But you know what? The Democrats have this locked in. Delegates are elected within your precinct and have essentially assigned to you 2,999 voters. Delegates should be out meeting with people in their precinct, talking to people in their precinct, knocking doors in their precinct, introducing yourself, learning who lives in your precinct, and not just during an election, but for the entire cycle of your elected term. So that when an election can come around, when it does come around, your county chair can reach out to you and say, what's our count right now? How many Democrats do we have? How many Republicans? How many independents? And how many have voted? Right? When elections come, how many have actually voted? And get that information from delegates. And that information then can be shared all the way up the line. Delegates have an essential role in our political process if we understand what it is. And delegates are very powerful if we understand how they can connect with the voters in their precinct. That's the power of a delegate, people. Thank you.
I've had the opportunity to be a delegate since I believe it's 2012. And it's my favorite job. I love the conventions. I love the county conventions. I love the state conventions. I like that we have fights about bylaws and charging, and we have lots of great debates. But it's the opportunity in my neighborhood to reach people And I do go door to door. I picture as incoming chairman, I see all of us with a big box. We're all gonna need to collect a big box of ballots. Well, don't worry, we will organize it. But in terms of delegates, these conventions are very powerful. So please, I've said this before, take your time, if you would, in making your choice. Very important, because there's a lot of talent on the stage. I have seen a couple of delegates that have changed my life. Michael Farage, years ago, I got to know him first through the Trump grassroots. And if I tell you, if there's anyone to ever watch and learn from, it's him. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes our, both the first and second parts. We can hold on to that. We're gonna do quick final statements. For the sake of time, before the church ends up kicking us out at 9 o'clock, now that it's like 9:01. Let's try to keep our final statements to like 30 seconds or less, and then we'll dismiss for the night. So go ahead. We'll just.
Thank you. I just want to message a thank you. What a beautiful venue. We have a chance to win US Senate. We've been given a gift. Please, we need to fix funding. I want to take JD's class in parliamentary process. I want to pay $97 to learn what's in this man's head. We have a very important task ahead of us, and that is to win president in 2024. President, Senate. We will unite as a party when we get back to winning generals. Please let us stop fighting one another. And here, the enemy is out there. The teachers that can tell my daughter that she can have a sex change when I don't know about it. No way. This mama bear is coming for every woke teacher influence. I am a woman of character, integrity, and performance. I humbly ask for your vote. Lena Epstein and Pastor Don Eason. Our website is lenaforchair.com. That's Lena and the number 4chair.com. Thank you for your time this evening, and God bless you and all of my friends on the stage. Thank you.
Thank you. MIGOP is broken. We need new leadership that can unite people across the state, that can raise money, and that can win elections. That's what we have to do in the next 2 years. We have to take back the state house, the state senate. We have a federal senate seat up. The presidential election is coming. We need to come together. We have to stop sniping at each other. We have to stop fighting within the party. We have to come together, raise money, and win these elections. And we need a fighter who's going to go out and do it. I've proven over the last 2 years that I am the fighter that can help us right now. Thank you very much.
We should say this before I forget. I do have a website, delegatesvoice.com. I'll end this with a story. We are in bad trouble. Things are bad. We have to stop we talk about it, but we have to actually acknowledge that things are bad. So a story that gives me hope is from 2 Kings. There was a King Jehoram, and he went to Elijah and he said, I need your help. And the prophet told him, go get help from the idols that you are worshiping. I'm not going to help you. He said, but wait, I have this other guy here. And he said, oh, you do have this other king who did follow the Lord. I will help you. And he said, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go dig ditches, and God will put water in those ditches. So the people had to get to work, and they had to sweat, and they had to dig ditches. It says they filled ditches all over the valley. They did a lot of work. They got the shovels out, and they did hard work. And then God came through, and he filled them all with water, and he used it for a trap that destroyed the enemy when they came. The point is that God just doesn't come save us. He does come save us, but he requires us to really put in the sweat to make it happen.
So thank you so much for having us here tonight. Please vote me, Christina Caramo, and our next co-chair, Melinda Pago, to lead the Michigan Republican Party. One of the things about Melinda and I, we have very unique experience in the party. As I mentioned, I've been involved in the Republican Party since college. Melinda has been involved in the party as a commissioner. She's now a clerk, as a chair of a county party, and has been involved in so many things like teaching candidate and delegate training classes for free for 3 years. So our combined experience knows just what this party needs and how to build it from the ground up. One of the things that's unique about me is that as a candidate, I started off in education. And so I was able to build a team of 1,800 volunteers statewide, 400 speaking events, 67% victory at convention, double fundraising for what the last Republican nominated Secretary of State raised. With that combined experience and my ability to penetrate the Democratic, never penetrated for by the Republican Party out of fear of that's too Democratic. No, I've done it. Stand toe to toe with people and change their mind. This is what we need in Michigan in 2024. We need bold leadership who knows exactly what to do, who does not need a learning curve, who will hit the ground day one. And the last thing, Linda and I both fear God more than anything else. As a Christian, and as I mentioned before, I went to theology school, I know at the end of the day, I have to stand before God and give an account for my life. So since I realized that and I fear God above anything else, you know you also have honest leadership. Because all of us can talk a great game, but at the end of the day, we have to make sure we keep our word. Christina Caramo and Melinda Peggy, you will definitely get that. Thank you so much.
I get to share a little more. Billy and Sandy, 2023.com. We have a great partnership. She's not my co-chair. She's just as much as me, okay? We have strategic leadership we have in place, not only from election integrity, but all the way down to school boards and how we take back our schools. Action. We're not a bunch of words. We're not a bunch of smoke and mirrors. We are proven in our past and our current adventures to have the integrity and the truth to get it done. Accountability. That's the biggest thing. The legislators need to be accountable to the people, and the MIGOP needs to be accountable to the delegates. It hasn't been for a very long time. And so we'll change the bylaws to fix the accountability. Those are the three things that MIGOP needs right now, by far. And with that being said, thank you so much. God bless you. And I hope it ain't snowing because I got 3 hours.
If you are a veteran, can you stand up, please? Sometimes in the heat of all this battle, we forget what you have done for us. So thank you very much. In my county, or my city, I think 2 years ago, they canceled the veteran parade. That another time. I am a leader who leads by example. Long before there was any of this noise, I was a person who led a recall against Governor Snyder because he's a Democrat. I was a person who fought our own party, gas tax, income tax. I have constantly fought the fight. And I watched on Tuesday a lot of that hard work for the first time or second time, maybe the third time, go into real action in Ottawa County. Everybody is a great candidate. Everybody can make things happen. But if we follow the plan from Freedom Works and Freedom Teams, and if we elect an individual who leads from the bottom up, we are going to become not just a political party, my friends, but we are going to become the party that the founding fathers in 1776 knew someday a crisis like this would happen, and this is why they put it together. And I want to disagree before I close. Nothing's wrong with us arguing or going back and forth. Do you think the Library of Congress was just a bunch of people? Yes, Matt? Of course not. I mean, if we don't mix it up a little bit, no one hates each other, but if we don't, you'll never really find out the passion that's in each and every one of us. Thank you.
If you participated in the recent recount on proposal 3 and in some places proposal 2, would you stand up to be recognized? Sandy, these ones, thank you so much. And anybody back here, if you participated, please stand up. Please stand up if you participated. I want to thank everybody that I led the Jackson. I was the team leader in Jackson. I was the team leader in Detroit. And it was a challenge, and I'll talk about further on that, some videos on my upcoming website. But I want to give you an equation. Money plus politics equals corruption. You go looking for big money, you're asking for big problems. You want to get rid of the corruption in the GOP, you better rethink how you get elections won. You need to move to the counties, and you need to grow your cerebral cortex. That's what I'm focusing on. I'm the candidate that's the wrecking ball in Lansing and Washington. And I'm the thinker. And I will help you grow. The counties need to grow their thinking ability and rethink how to win elections. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, candidates. Give them a round of applause. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you. All right, just a couple of other thank yous. Thank you all for attending. I appreciate everybody coming out both on Zoom and in the audience. Thank you to Freshwater Community Church for hosting this event for tonight. Just a last call to action, just do your research. There's a lot more candidates out there other than the candidates that came tonight to do your research, and also get involved. Look to be a precinct delegate, look to join your local GOP. If you're young, look to join a young group here in Van Buren County in the Southwest. We have a great Southwest conservative youth, the youth group that's starting out, so look for that as well. If you need any more information, just reach out to myself, and please check out all the candidates websites as well. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you all.